The Young and the Restless Spoilers Thurdays update September 26, 2024. It was a cool, quiet evening in the park, but for Faith Newman, everything felt unbearably heavy. She walked aimlessly, her thoughts consumed with worry for her mother, Sharon. After everything that had happened, the poison, the arrest, the anger, Faith felt more alone than ever. She had tried texting her mother multiple times, hoping that maybe, just maybe, Sharon would respond, but there was nothing. The silence was crushing. Faith sat down on a bench, pulling her phone out again to send yet another message. "Mom, I really need to talk to you. Please answer me. I miss you." But still, no reply. Faith's heart ached. She had never felt so disconnected from her mother, and the distance between them now felt insurmountable. Her mother was in jail, spiraling deeper into her own madness, and there was nothing Faith could do to reach her. As Faith sat, staring at her phone, she heard a familiar voice call out her name. "Faith?" She looked up, startled, to see Adam approaching her. His face showed concern, and though their relationship had always been complicated, there was a genuine softness in his eyes that made Faith feel a little less alone in that moment. "Adam," Faith said, her voice break slightly. She hadn't expected to see him here, and certainly hadn't expected to feel the relief she now did. Adam sat down beside her, his expression serious. "What's going on? You look like you've been through hell." Faith hesitated for a moment, but she couldn't keep it in any longer. The words spilled out of her as she told Adam everything. She told him about Sharon's erratic behavior, the poison, the arrest, and how she hadn't been able to reach her since. Adam listened carefully, his face growing more and more concerned with every word Faith said. "Sharon? Poison?" Adam repeated, his voice full of shock and disbelief. He knew Sharon had been struggling, but he hadn't realized just how far things had spiraled out of control. "Yes," Faith whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. "She's in jail now, and I don't know what's going to happen to her. I'm scared, Adam." Adam put a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We're going to figure this out, I promise. I'll look into it and try to find out where Sharon is. You need to stay calm, okay? You're not alone in this." Faith nodded, grateful for Adam's support, but the knot in her stomach remained tight. As Adam assured her he would help, Faith could only hope that Sharon would get the help she so desperately needed before things got any worse. Meanwhile, Daniel and Heather's deadly drink. On the other side of town, Daniel Romolotti was preparing for a quiet evening with Heather. The two had recently reconnected, and their relationship had taken a turn towards something more intimate. There was still a lot of tension between them, old wounds that hadn't fully healed. But tonight felt, as they sat together, the dim lights casting a warm glow around the room, Daniel stood up to grab the bottle from the shelf. His eyes scanned the room, and immediately, something felt off. He couldn't quite place it at first, but as his fingers brushed against the bottle, his instincts kicked in. The whiskey bottle had been moved. Daniel was meticulous, especially when it came to his belongings. He always kept things in order, and he knew exactly where everything was at all times. The bottle had been in its usual place when he last checked, but now it was slightly out of alignment, as if someone had touched it. A chill ran down his spine as he held the bottle in his hands. Something wasn't right. As Daniel unscrewed the cap, he hesitated, glancing over at Heather, who was smiling at him from across the room. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, completely unaware of the danger lurking just beneath the surface. "Pour us a drink, Daniel," she said, her voice light and teasing. "Let's toast to new beginnings." Daniel's fingers tightened around the bottle, his mind racing. He hadn't mentioned it to Heather, but he knew about Sharon's recent behavior, her irrational thoughts, and the poison she had threatened to use. Could it be possible that Sharon had gotten into his house, tampered with his drink? He leaned down, bringing the bottle close to his nose, and inhaled. The scent of whiskey was familiar, comforting, but there was something else there too. Something faint, almost imperceptible, but distinctly wrong. Daniel's eyes narrowed as he glanced back at the bottle. Could there really be poison in it? Was Sharon capable of doing something like this to him? He set the bottle down gently, his mind buzzing with the possibilities. "Actually," Daniel said slowly, looking at Heather, "I think we should hold off on the whiskey tonight." Heather raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised by his sudden change of mood. Why? What's wrong? Daniel forced a smile, though his mind was racing with paranoia. I don't know. I have a weird feeling about it. Maybe we should open a different bottle. Heather frowned, her excitement dimming, but she didn't push him further. Okay, fine. No whiskey tonight, but you owe me. Daniel laughed softly, but his mind remained focused on the bottle. He wasn't sure if he was overreacting or if his suspicions were valid, but something in his gut told him to trust his instincts. He had always been sensitive to his surroundings, always paying attention to the smallest details. Tonight was no exception. A deadly game of suspicion. As the night progressed, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was at play. Sharon's mental state had been deteriorating rapidly, and if she had indeed tampered with his whiskey, there was no telling what other plans she might have in store. The thought sent a shiver down. Adam, meanwhile, had started his own investigation, determined to find out what had driven Sharon to such extremes. He had a sinking feeling that things were far worse than anyone realized, and that Sharon's spiral into madness might not be over yet. Back at the park, Faith sat alone once again, waiting for news. Her heart was heavy with fear, knowing that her mother was in a dark place, and that anything could happen. She trusted Adam to help, but a part of her knew that this was bigger than any one person could handle. Sharon's actions were becoming more erratic, and Faith feared that someone else, perhaps even Daniel, might become a victim of her mother's unraveling mind. The suspense builds. What happens next? The pieces were falling into place, but no one knew exactly where this dangerous game would lead. Would Daniel uncover the truth about the poison in time to stop a tragedy from unfolding? Would Adam's intervention come soon enough to prevent Sharon from descending further into madness? And would Faith be able to reconcile her love for her mother with the harsh reality of Sharon's dangerous actions? In Sharon's case, her battle with mental health has been central to her character development. Her struggles have been woven into the fabric of her relationships and the choices she makes. The writer's decision to explore this aspect of her character allows for a deeper dive into the emotional turmoil that many people face in real life, creating a storyline that is both dramatic and, at times, painfully real. Conclusion. Moving forward. With Sharon now in the hands of the police and mental health professionals, her family can finally take a breath. Mariah, Faith, and Nick are still deeply worried about her, but they also know that they've done the right thing. The weight of trying to manage Sharon's escalating behavior has been lifted, and though the future remains uncertain, there is hope that Sharon can find peace within herself. For Nick, the decision to involve the police wasn't an easy one, but it was necessary. Sharon's threats no longer held power over him. Instead, he saw them as the desperate cries of a woman who had lost her way. His hope now lay in the belief that, through treatment, Sharon might one day find her way back, not just to her family, but to herself. As the storyline continues to unfold, fans are left to wonder what the future holds for Sharon. Will she overcome the demons that have haunted her for so long, or will the darkness pull her deeper? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. Sharon's journey, like so many others in Genoa City, is far from over.